I've gained and lost over 1,000 pounds in my lifetime. And I was in such denial of what I look like, especially during this time of year. We're all getting ready for the summer and bathing suits. And I had this thinking that if I just put my makeup on and I put a colorful tank outfit on, that no one would see how much weight I had gained. And by the way, I wouldn't see it either. I was in Puerto Rico and I was on a long weekend vacation, and I was in the swimming pool, and all of a sudden I came out of the pool and there was this glass closet door that was on the other side of the pool. I think they were keeping some stuff in it. And I looked at my legs. I could see it. It was like a mirror. And it was my moment of truth. It looked like I had elephant legs. And I got very depressed. And I went back to New York City, where I live. And I said to myself, there's something that I've got to do. I don't know what that is. And that week, I found a group of people who seemed to be happy, and they were telling me they lost weight. They seemed to have something that I didn't have. And so I kept going to those meetings. And by the way, the weight came off. 60 pounds came off me. And I've learned a few things over the years because I've been keeping it off for a long time. And I want to share that with you. First of all, I needed to know my trigger foods. My foods are cake, candy, ice cream, everything you live for, everything you love. Those were my trigger foods. So I knew that I couldn't just have one. I would need to have 10 or 15 or 20. People would go home and I would still be eating those foods. So I had to learn to stay away from them. But you know something? I found substitutes. Get those substitutes. I love fresh fruit. And you can take bananas, I learned, and fry the bananas or bake the bananas, and all this kind of sugary juice comes out of it, and it's delicious. And I convinced myself that was like my ice cream. Another thing that was so important for me is to realize before I took that bite of a trigger food that I could think it through. In other words, it might taste great for a moment or even an hour, but what's going to happen 6 hours later or a day later? How am I going to feel? I had to ask myself, was I really hungry? Or was I eating my feelings down? Was I sad about something and I wanted an ice cream to soothe it? Was I angry at my friend because they didn't include me and I wanted an extra piece of pizza to soothe that? And did I really soothe myself? No. Because what would happen is I'd put on the weight, and then the only person that hurt was me. So I had to ask myself, what was eating me? And was I really hungry? I also learned is that I didn't have to do it alone. You know, we think we should go on this diet, do it ourselves, it should work, and if we go off the diet and fail, we feel like failures. And I also got a food buddy, someone who I could share those crazy times with, and she could share it with me. But I would call her up and I'd say, you know, my boss just said this to me, and I want to eat the biggest chocolate cake in New York City. And she'd say, oh, really? Are you sure that's what you want to do? Or are you really angry? And she helped me stay away from that first bite of that trigger food that ultimately was going to hurt me, not my boss. The next thing I had to learn was if I did fall off the wagon, if I did make a poor choice in my food, instead of beating myself up over and over again, why did you do that, Helene? You know better. You're never going to lose the weight for this summer. I had to say to myself, okay, you did it, Helene. What could you have done differently than what you did? And you know something? So many times I could have made that phone call to my buddy and say, I'm walking down a street and I don't know why I'm so hungry. I just had my dinner, but I want something sweet. And then she'd probably say, Helene, you know what's sweet? If you don't eat it, you'll be able to experience the sweetness of life.